So at this point, I will hand over to Mr. Bayo Onanuga, the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy. He will brief us on updates on the President's international engagements up until this moment. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been given to this administration, all your fair reporting and everything. And I hope I can continue to count on your cooperation in the months and years ahead. Now, straight to why we're here today. As Otega said, there were several developments in the past few days, few weeks about this government. I would just want to make sure that we highlight some of them. As we speak, or let me first of all go to what happened at the FEC on Monday. The president actually gave an order to all his ministers to go out there to speak about the activities of his government. Some of them have been media shy, TV shy, radio shy, and he wants them to really overcome all that and go out there, speak about what they have been doing the past year. Because as he said, the feeling outside there, some people feel the government is not doing anything, and government has been doing a lot. And he believes that it is up to them to go out there and blow their trumpets. They should not even wait for people to blow it for them. They should go out and talk about what their ministries have been doing. Now, I will take you to the international scene. Early this morning, the Vice President, who is now in New York, and who is representing the President as the head of Nigeria delegation to the United Nations General Assembly, Ogra 79, gave the national statement to the Assembly. And apart from that, he's been involved in all kinds of activities, discussions on topics such as global climate, economic cooperation, and youth empowerment. And his speech last night, which he delivered on behalf of the President, also highlighted several things: the economic reforms we are doing in Nigeria, global peace, debt relief, and strategic partnership. The VP Shetima, also highlighted Nigeria's National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, which focuses on macroeconomic stability, infrastructure development, and job creation for youth and women. The Vice President also underscored the importance of energy security and reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to climate action, calling for greater international cooperation in mitigating the impacts of climate change. In addition to delivering the speech, as he delivered early this morning, the Vice President Shetima also participated in the U.S.-Nigeria Executive Business Roundtable, which was hosted by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. The key outcome from that roundtable was a promise of a $200 million loan for the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Corporation to support affordable home ownership, and $100 million loan to FCMB to boost lending to women-owned SMEs. Other key announcements include significant investment in agriculture with $20 million for cashew and sesame production, and $75 million for Indorama's urea and ammonia facility in Port Harcourt. Well, Otega will now brief us about the latest reports on the economy, according to the NBS.
So NBS recently released the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics recently released their Q2 reports, and the government is actually quite positive and happy that a lot of its programs are achieving desired results, especially in some sectors. For instance, agriculture expanded by 3.2%. We're seeing more enhanced local production. We're seeing a lot more exports. The same things with the telecommunications industry, which has expanded by about 9.1% because of new investments in both digital infrastructure. For instance, they're laying fiber optics across the country, and also, investments in new areas in technology. In addition, FDIs continue to rise. The foreign reserves are also rising. But most importantly, a couple of days ago, Coca-Cola came here and they finally pledged to invest 1 billion over the next 5 years in certain key areas. And the manufacturing, which is good for manufacturing, which has also grown by about 4.2% this year. I know a couple of newspapers carried certain things about the Coca-Cola pledge, but I think the company has come out to say the initial pledge they gave, it had to be recalled because of certain issues that they had, just shortly after having the pledge, making the pledge then. Also last week and in the past 2 weeks, Nigeria and the United States had a series of engagements, amongst which the modernization of the power grids, using the U.S. clean projects, enhancing renewable energy projects, and also improving our energy security and industrial productivity. Those meetings were held, the U.S.-Nigeria Business Council, amongst others. At FEC on Monday also, a couple of decisions were made, key of which was the disaster relief fund, how it will be operated and all that, as well as integrity tests to be done on some dams that we know might fail in any time soon. There were also some aspects of the economic stabilization bills that missed the headlines, but as a member of FEC, I would allow Mr. Bayo Onanuga, continue with decisions read at FEC.
Yeah, thank you, Otega. Monday, when the ministers briefed us about the decisions, some of the key decisions at the Federal Executive Council meeting, but a lot of reports were also missed out. Particularly the economic stabilization bills. The economic stabilization is not just a bill; it comprises many bills that they have brought together as one bill, as they call it, just one bill, as an omnibus bill. And there are some areas that I think should be of interest to us as journalists, and one of them is the plan to amend the National Identity Management Commission Bill 2024. They call it National Identity Management Commission Amendment Bill 2024. This bill will amend the law that was made in some years ago, and it now provides, if the National Assembly passes that bill, it provides that everybody living in Nigeria, foreigners, all of them will now be registered and be given NIN, especially once you are doing some work here and you are earning income, you will be registered and be given NIN so that you can be taxed. Your NIN will give you the kind of tax identity, and you can also be taxed. You come under our tax structure. That's one of the bills to amend the National Identity Management Commission. That's the law that set it up initially, which precludes foreigners from being registered. They now be registered under that amendment. The second one has to do with the operating laws guiding NIMASA and Nigerian Port Authority. Now, amendments were also under that economic stabilization bills, that all their fees, charges, levies, fines, and other monies accruing to them and payable to those agencies may now be paid in Naira at the applicable exchange rate. I think those agencies only were charging in dollars, but now they can always now collect it in Naira, which I found that this government wants to put a lot of emphasis on our national currency. Instead of everything being dollarized in our economy, government is now saying pay in Naira. It doesn't have to be everything in dollars. Now, the other one, which I think is also very significant, is the Tertiary Education Trust Fund Amendment Bill 2024. Why this one is important is that it also has an element there that affects NELFund, that's the Nigerian Educational Loan Fund. Some of us maybe have been wondering, how are we going to fund the loans we are giving to Nigerian students? Well, I think the government has brought out an answer. Most of the funding will also come from the money going to TED Fund. So there's an amendment to TED Fund Act that was made in 2011 that now says that the fund shall, before disbursement of the amount in the fund, that is TED Fund, before it disburses the amount in its fund, set aside in each year 1/3 of the amount to be transferred to the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, that's NEL Fund. That is 30% of whatever NEL Fund gets from the Federation account will now be passed on to NEL Fund. So that will provide a ready-made source of funding to NEL Fund. Also, NEL Fund, also by that amendment the amendment bill of 2024, has been pegged to spending only 5% of its income on its administration. That is, either it wants to do capital something in its office or wants to pay salaries or anything, it cannot spend more than 5% of whatever accrues to it from the federation account. That's the maximum it can get from the account to that fund. So 30% of its fund is now going to fund the NEL Fund and 5% to fund its own operations. So those, briefly, are those things we have for you today. I said we want to thank you for your time and for listening. Also, cabinet reshuffle, let me tell you, I don't have any timeline. The president has expressed his desire to reshuffle his cabinet, and he will do it. I don't know whether he wants to do it before October 1, but he will surely do it. So that's what I will say. He has not given us any timeline when he wants to do it, but he will do it. He has expressed his plan. He wants to do it. He wants to reshuffle. Then, as to the third fund problem, well, I don't know whether third fund has been doing a lot of work, helping universities, not just even education, college education or polytechnics and so on, but doing a lot of work. Well, government must have looked at the money accruing to it and must have felt that maybe if you take away 30% of whatever comes to it, it will also help the students who go to all those schools. Because that's what the whole idea is all about. The idea of NEL Fund is to make sure that all our children, wherever they may be, are able to go to school even if their parents are poor. So, and therefore cannot just be building assembly halls or laboratories without making sure that even the students who are going to use the facilities are able to use them with loans from NEL Fund. So that may be the logic of government. That let's NEL Fund also fund NEL Fund. The NEL Fund money will not only come from NEL Fund. There will also be budgetary allocation from the federal government to NEL Fund all the time. So this one is supplementary. It's not only the money that NEL Fund will use. So I think, does that answer your questions?
Can I add some? Yeah. Yes. I also like to add some things to what Mr. Bayo Onanuga has said. We also need to realize that the president's decision to reshuffle is also based on empirical evidence. You know, he has said it when he was doing the retreat for the ministers that it was going to, they were going to have periodic reviews, and the decisions that are extracted from those reviews will be used to make that final decision. I know he's gotten a couple of reports, and as Mr. Onanuga said, when he's ready to do that, I believe he will. There was another thing that was also mentioned in terms of funding for NEL Fund. Don't forget that recently in the president's speech during the protests, he also ensured that some monies gotten from illegal activities were moved to also fund NEL Fund. And he did that and used it to fund both NEL Fund and Credit Corps. Also, there's something else that this government has done. All universities before used to give a portion of the IGR. They used to remit it to the federal government. That has been stopped. So all IGR that universities get, because you mentioned universities and how they can fund themselves, we know they need a lot more funding. We know the budgetary allocations to education can be improved, but a lot is being done, at least in the interim, to bridge whatever funding gaps that they have. And then in terms of Coca-Cola, at the end of the day, they're a private organization. But I also know that they've done one of the largest acquisitions in the foods and beverage sector, to go into juices in the past 5 years in this country. And I think they spent almost $1.5 billion, in the past few years, which they're, backing up with additional $1 billion for the next 5 years. So I think the government is willing, the government is open. Just like Mr. Onanuga said in his brief, you saw that even more money and more investments are coming into this country Total recently partnered with NNPC for the $550 million Ubeta project, which is a gas development project. And at the Vice President Shetima's meeting with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, about $320 million worth of investments were also pledged to the country. So I think that covers it all from this side.
What you are witnessing is that the economy indicators in many areas, they are showing very positive signs. I think I'm sure that it will take some time before people can begin to feel the impact of what you are witnessing. GDP rising, balance of trade also showing surplus, inflation receding and so on. So I'm sure gradually people will begin to feel that impact of what you are witnessing, what indicators are showing. It's not going to be immediate, but you are going to start feeling it much more. Those figures only reflect what is happening in the economy, and we will soon begin to feel that impact of what the figures are showing. It's not going to be immediate. That's what I want to assure you. But from what you see from all indications, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that things are going to be improving and improving and improving, and the people also begin to feel the impact of the improvements in all the phases of our economy. Now, to the question about the cost of PMS, well, let me say that as far as this government is concerned, the PMS field, the PMS regime has been deregulated. Dangote is a private company. NNPC, we should not forget, is a limited liability company.
No.
Whatever controversies both of them are having is their own problem. They are operating, even if you go by the terms of the Petroleum Industry Act, NNPC is on its own, even though it's owned by the federal government, the state government, and local councils and everything, but it's operating as a limited liability company. We can see what the private market has said, that if they find the NNPC or Dangote price too much for them, they will resort to importing fuel. Because it's a deregulated market, at the end of the day, it's the consumer who will benefit if a price war starts. If NNPC fuel is too much, the public market can go to the market and bring in their own fuel and sell at a price that they think is very reasonable and profitable for them. So my answer is that as far as government is concerned, government is not dabbling into this controversy. Dangote is running a private company, is working on its own. NNPC is a limited liability company, and it has the right to fix the price of its own fuel and so on. So that's the question. But you see, as a counterpart to that, government has a program, which somebody mentioned earlier about CNG, that government wants to make sure that Nigerians have a choice. If you don't want to use PMS, you can use CNG. And you can see what's going on in some of our cities, Lagos, Ibadan, Benin, and some other places where transporters are already embracing CNG. And the whole idea is that CNG, the equivalent of gas to PMS, is the gap is very, very wide. If you want to buy a liter of petrol, if they sell it, let's say, 850 naira, what they're going to get with the equivalent of CNG is about 230 naira. And you can see the gap. Some of the transporters are already converting their vehicles to CNG. And the government has a plan to make sure that about 1 million of those vehicles run on CNG. The whole idea is that if they run on CNG, the cost of transportation will go down. In addition, the government is going to encourage many of our states to go into urban transportation so that they can help to make sure that they reduce the cost of transportation in many of our cities. As of now, in the entire country, only Lagos State has an urban transport system. Only Lagos State. Cities like Ibadan, Kaduna, Kano, they don't have it. But this government has a plan to encourage all of them to start urban transport. Many modern cities should have urban transport system, a bus system or rail system, and so on and so forth. So that's the plan of government to make sure that we shift our attention from just on consuming PMS. There must be an alternative energy that we can also use, which is cheaper, and CNG has proven to be that. And the government also has a plan to make sure that even private car owners can convert to CNG at a reduced cost. For transporters, it's almost free for them. But for private vehicle owners, the government has a plan to subsidize the cost of converting your vehicle from petrol to CNG. So that's what's going on.
On the CNG thing also, it's important to know that 2 weeks ago, Mr. President ensured that the price of CNG is now 230 naira per standard cubic feet. And from the testimonials we're getting from commercial transporters, Uber drivers and co, an Uber driver who makes about 30,000 or 40,000 a day is used to, using about 30,000 naira of that on fuel. Now they're spending about 5,000, to fuel their car for the same period or more, for a full tank, which is 4,000, 5,000 for 2 days, and then they have the rest as profits for them. So where they were taking back maybe 10,000 or less than 10,000 naira home as profits at the end of the day, now they're closer to, 20,000 a day or sometimes more. So the benefits are there. Nigeria is primarily a gas country, and that's why you see that this government is, putting so much effort into positioning gas as the next fuel of the future. Costs, yes, we might say it costs about 800,000 for a regular sedan car now to do your conversion, but by the time you calculate, that same sedan car should use about 60 to 70,000 naira worth of, fuel in a week, or sometimes a week and a half. So in 10 weeks, you'd be spending the cost of converting your car. Let's say you're not even using any of the government's reduced ones. You'll be spending the cost of 10 weeks of petrol to simply convert your car to CNG, where you're spending 4,000 naira, per full tank, which will last you for 2.5 full tanks of fuel. So, it evens out at the end of the day. If you can have a way to change your car now, please, I would advise change your car. I have changed mine. A lot of people in the government have changed theirs. Now you do not see any government agency, buying new generators or buying new cars without some form of hybrid technology. It's just not approved even at the ministerial level. So that's how serious this government is about taking CNG. In terms of free kits, there are 10,000 free kits being given out at the moment from PCNJI. They've been moving state to state, and even regular people can stand the chance of winning, I think, 1 of 50 kits in each of those states they go to. But you have filling stations, auto-gas stations across the country. A lot of transporters are using them. In fact, Mr. Onanuga was mentioning, the refinery, but a lot of, big-time manufacturers with trucks are using CNG to power their trucks. So if they can do that, I wonder why we, the regular citizens are not, embracing it yet. I think that will be all for the CNG. If you need further information on CNG, the Presidential CNG Initiative has a website, pcngi.gov.ng. They're also available on Twitter and other social media platforms for further information. If not, we are always here to respond to you. Thank you very much.
Well, I think with that, we've come to the end of today's session. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you once again for your time, to listen to our briefing, and for your attention. As I said, if there's any other clarification that you need about government policies or the president's agenda, my office is always open. My phones are always open for people to send in messages or requests. I want to thank you once again. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.